Long time ago, before phones were made and when random ancient people lived, after the plague hit the city-states and monarchies depleted, populations began to grow again, this time stronger than ever. All these new and reformed towns filled with people who brought with them doubts and questions for their leaders and the church, not continuing their once strong faith because of the disasters of the past. They created a new age, an age of creativity, an age of writers, thinkers, learners, and a sense of promise and purpose, an age of...
Who painted the Mona Lisa? Mona Lisa. Oh, yeah. Da Vinci?
This age was called the Renaissance.
Being a wealthy merchant made you like a political billionaire, especially in tiny Italian city-states. This is when individual accomplishments were introduced. They dominated the government, and the higher, more established merchant you were, the better you were known. Medici was one of them. Cosimo de' Medici was the wealthiest European and established his family as a powerful banking company during this time. He successfully administered Florence's government and controlled high-class people with his loans. His grandson, Lorenzo de' Medici, or Lorenzo the Magnificent, followed in his footsteps. Some fun family drama happened, and the assassins killed Lorenzo's little brother, Giuliano, so Lorenzo executed them. However, the Medici family history isn't all bad. They also made their private library with valuable manuscripts open to the public.
People in Italy wanted to revive ancient Greek and Roman culture, so they began to study ancient Latin manuscripts that were found in monasteries and Greek manuscripts from Constantinople. In doing so, they created a new way of thinking known as Humanism. Humanism changed the life of people in the Renaissance and the way that they viewed the world. They popularized subjects that are at the core of education in the present day, like history, literature, and philosophy, which are also known as humanities. It also introduced the idea that people could worship God while enjoying luxuries such as expensive goods, music, and fine foods, which contradicted the teachings of the church during the Middle Ages. Church leaders spent a lot of money on art to decorate various Italian cities, and rich families showed their wealth by being patrons, or people who financially supported artists. Artistic techniques began to develop as artists drew inspiration from classical Greek and Roman artworks while experimenting with new styles. Art became more realistic, and artists focused on portraying the characteristics of people that were unique to the individual. The technique of perspective, which is used to make art look three-dimensional, was also revived after previously being abandoned by medieval artists. Here are some influential artists of the time period. Michelangelo Buonarroti was a sculptor, poet, architect, and painter who is famous for making the statue of David. Donatello was a sculptor who conveyed personality in his works through using natural poses and expressions. Leonardo
Da Vinci
was a painter, sculptor, inventor, and a scientist who made the famous paintings Mona Lisa and The Last Supper. He was also very interested in the world around him and studied things such as how a muscle functions and the arrangement of veins in a leaf. Raphael Sanzio was a painter who studied the works of Michelangelo and Leonardo and made the painting called The School of Athens. Though society in the Renaissance era was quite sexist, some female artists were able to gain recognition, such as Sophonisba Anguissola and Artemisia Gentileschi, who were both talented painters.
Now heading over to Northern Europe in places such as England, Germany, and Flanders, located in between modern-day France and Netherlands, there is a spread of knowledge through students, scholars, and merchants who travel to Italy bringing ideas with them to these places. Similar to Italy, ideas of self-purpose, questioning of the church, and changing the perspective of societal norms took place. However, art-wise, there is a major difference. Artists grew in popularity everywhere, but in these northern countries, they focused on a certain type of art called realism. One of the main ideas in this time was the wanting to reform society. Along with this, the focus on education, which eventually broke some gender barriers, being that people wanted men and women equally to be well educated. The Renaissance ideas spread to England in the mid-1500s, and this is also known as the Elizabethan Age. Queen Elizabeth I ruled from 1558 to 1603. She was well educated, spoke multiple languages, and wrote poetry and music. However, she didn't highly support the spread of these ideas. William Shakespeare, another person who we all know who lived at this time period, was a writer born in 1564 in Stratford, about 90 miles from the city. He used classic plots and themes for his inspiration for his own writing. Some examples of his plays are Macbeth, Hamlet, Othello, Romeo and Juliet, Midsummer Night's Dream, and The Taming of the Shrew.
Trade and travel encouraged the intermingling of cultures and ideas. In China, a guy named Bai Sheng devised block printing, which was not ideal for the Chinese writing system, but as we all know, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Johann Gutenberg, a German artisan, was impressed by this idea and put his own twist on it, inventing the printing press, which enabled him to create books considerably quicker and cheaper. As a reference, one work usually took about 5 months to create. However, with the printing press, 500 works could be made at the same time. This surge of printing allowed information to spread at a far faster rate, and its inexpensive price allowed numerous people to acquire books.
Overall, the Renaissance was a time of rebirth and development and has made lasting impacts on civilization. Humanism caused people to learn more about the world around them and themselves, while artists and writers made advancements in art and literature. This era helped to shape our society into how we know it today.